circumstance.
Well, I mean, for Reservoir Dogs, it was a pretty standard thing. I mean, we had the actor, we taped his ear down as flat as we could, you know, literally with tape. Took
Yeah.
a life cast of that ear, and then Bob sculpted. It was a two-piece appliance. Sculpted the section that covers his natural ear, and has the ear missing. And then we took a snap off of that, and we sculpted then an ear, a replacement ear. Everything was foam rubber back then. Excuse me. And then it just, you know, it just glues down, you know, and because you get that ear flat, even though you're building on top of something that has a bit of a mound, the way Quentin shot it, if you recall, you never look at it front on. You look at it from the side.
Yeah.
So plus just the way Quentin did it, you know, by panning off and then coming back, masterful. And it's just the way he shot it. So regarding Lucy Liu, sorry, God, got a tickle. All, you know, originally when we were talking about it, you know, somebody in the room said, "Oh, this should be a digital effect," and Quentin blew his gasket because he doesn't like visual effects. He wants to see it happen. He doesn't want to wait and see it in 6 months, you know, and it just feels more organic. And he always says, you know, in the 70s they didn't have visual effects, so what are we going to do? So, or especially CGI. And so with that said, that person wasn't asked back to the table ever again. And we came up with a way to do it. Actually, one of our artists, Garrett Immel, came up with a great way to do it. And it was about forced perspective. So we had Lucy Liu's head cast, and he sculpted this little pie-shaped appliance that we glued onto Lucy's forehead. And it just was sculpted in a way, if you're looking at it straight on, that looked like the top of her head was chopped off. So on the day, Chris Nelson, who was with me in China, Chris and I applied the makeup, and we bald capped her, Lucy, painted the top black, and then Chris glued down that piece, and we painted it up, and I rigged it with the blood. And Bob Richardson, who was the cinematographer, who's a super genius as well, understood how the gag worked. And it's just the way we framed it, you know, and it just looks like the top of her head's cut off. If you saw her walking around set, it looked like she had a giant, like, you know, Frankenstein conquers the world forehead. But on camera, it worked perfect. You know, so Quentin starts tight on her face, and you hear the whoosh, and he pulls back, and then I hit the blood, and the blood starts trickling down her face, and it just worked so well. And it was all on camera. Quentin was so happy. Lucy was wonderful. Bob Richardson, you know, did a beautiful job. And again, that shows that it's not one department, it's multiple departments to make things work. So, you know, again, going into the things with Quentin, it's like you try to figure out how to do things as practical as possible. That's very important to him. And it's important to us too. I mean, you know, even, you know, all films, even Inglourious Basterds, you know, Greg came up with ways of doing things practical. Like, you know, when they cut the swastika into Chris Waltz's head, somebody again said, well, that should be digital. And it wasn't. It was all practical. Yeah. So, you know, it was really, you know, Greg and his team when they were shooting in Germany, coming up with really great ways of doing this practical and making Quentin super, super happy.